that reversal signal. We can see that the long term took place just last week. So the triple EMA crossover likely to cross over to the downside, suggesting that the yen is going to reverse. Now again, applying Vantage Point's predicted TSI, we can see with this predicted TSI we're looking for overbought and oversold overbought and oversold signals, excuse me. So we can see that the dollar yen here is very clearly in overbought territory. We've crossed over to the downside. This is a leading indicator. We have plenty of room to extend. Based on this indicator, again, with that crossover taking place up in the 50 level on the predicted true strength indicator from Vantage Point, we have a considerable amount of room to extend lower. So this is absolutely a concern that we could get a trend reversal on the yen and we could actually move back towards this 90 level. That would be best case scenario for the yen, but we'll wait and see. Obviously the yen is going to strengthen further, again with the Goldman issues and all that, but we'll see if this thing can completely reverse. Now moving into our next pair, we're going into the New Zealand US dollar. We can see that we're pretty much running flat. The 18-day predicted moving average from Vantage Point coming under pressure again. 70.90, 71.04, and 71.03 are our key levels. We've closed the week at 70.91. My opinion is that this one is flat with a downside biased. Now the reason I'm saying the downside biased here, again looking at the true strength indicator from Vantage Point, along with this time we're going to look at the long-term crossover and hit apply. We can see what the long-term crossover is getting ready to make its move. The predicted TSI is essentially also getting ready to cross over to the downside. Now looking at the medium-term crossover from Vantage Point, we can see that again it's also sitting getting ready to cross over and make that move, while the short-term crossover has already made its move, and the crossover we can see has taken place right here. Now with all that said, with the short term being the leading indicator, the 3-day crossing over the 8-day, chances are New Zealand US is likely, the momentum lower is likely to start to gain some strength here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to again put our triple EMA crossover back in. Whenever we check a new pair, we always start with the triple EMA crossover and then work back from there, because it's again gives us our pivot area of support or resistance depending on what we're trading. Now the US Canadian pair, again the predicted TSI, this is an indicator that can only be found on Vantage Point. That's the reason I like this, one of the reasons I like this program, and particularly this indicator. We've crossed over to the upside right here at the -40 level. Predicted 3-day crossing over the predicted 8-day from Vantage Point. This thing looks like it's getting ready to move higher. We've got three levels now of pivot support. 10058, 10044, and 10087 with a close of 101.23. 1.0058 is the area we'd be looking to get into those buy positions on the US CAD at the market open. I don't think it's going to move down to that level right away, but I do believe it will test somewhere between 87 and 58. So that's what the area we want to look to get into a buy position there on the US Canadian pair. Now again, I've run through that the commodity prices, one of the leading indicators also is using those multiple markets from Vantage Point, is that the commodity prices are showing a reversal signal, or at least weakness in the short term, which will again soften that Canadian dollar and the Aussie dollar, but particularly the Canadian dollar. So for now, we can use that opportunity and the predicted TSI from Vantage Point as a confirming indicator that the US CAD is likely to move higher. Now going in, looking at the US Swiss franc, again this pair is sitting above, it's managed to hold above this critical 105 level. In my opinion this is still a buy. Again, this predicted TSI from Vantage Point, a leading indicator here that this thing is getting ready to cross to the upside again. We've got some pivotal areas, 105.84, 105.94, and 106.14 with a close of 106.11. I suspect our pullback will be very deep on, shallow, excuse me, on Sunday around the 105.84, and from that particular area we get into buy positions and expect a move towards the 107, 108 area, probably by, I would say, midweek. Now again, the US Swiss franc and the Euro US highly correlated to each other. So I spend very little time usually on US Swiss franc because, again, it's not even really a major. It's a synthetic cross, to be perfectly honest. Now, looking at Euro US, we can see that we've got this crossover moving back down to the downside. Predicted TSI from Vantage Point also looking to make that move and that crossover lower. So we're going to spend a little bit more time on Euro US because this is, again, a very popular pair. Now, looking at the short-term crossover from Vantage Point, we can see the crossover has taken place right here to the downside. Looking at the medium-term crossover from Vantage Point, again, we're still holding to the upside, but clearly under pressure. Now, the long-term crossover from Vantage Point also still showing a little bit of strength on that euro, but again, I believe it's going to come under pressure. Now, because we've got mixed signals here, we're going to go in, have a look at the predicted MACD from Vantage Point, see what's happening with that. We can see that we've crossed over the trigger to the upside. However, the trigger has not been able to clear the zero line, suggesting that this thing could move lower. Now, looking at pattern recognition, we can see here that the last time the trigger, it went over the zero line on the predicted MACD, it immediately retreated lower. And then if we look right up here, we can see the market actually followed the predicted MACD from Vantage Point. So it's very important that we take that into consideration, these repetitive price patterns and movements in the market to gauge the next move here. So with looking at that, that suggests here, by looking at this trigger where it's sitting at now, just above the zero line, our blue line is the actual trigger, unable to get up above that zero line, Euro US is likely to come under more selling pressure on any move towards that 136 area. Now, again, we've got 135.06, 135.46, and 135.23 with a close of 135.06. Euro US likely to come under pressure in this 135.23 area to start the week. That's what I suspect. We've closed below that. We're probably going to retrace to that 135.23 and then probably see Euro US crash lower. Now, going into one of our final pairs here, we're going to be looking at the pound dollar. Now, the pound dollar has been we've had a very good trading week on that. For everybody that watched my live pre-market open on April the 13th, this was a recommended trade. Did very, very well, producing well over a couple of hundred pips. It's now subsequently starting to move lower. Key thing here to identify, guys, Vantage Point's predicted pivot moving average 152.94, 153.74, 154.13 with a close of 153.71. Only a sustained break of the 152.94 area will take the pressure off the top side here. We've got this crossover from Vantage Point. This crossover took months to take place. The last time we had this crossover to the downside, this was towards the end of January. We've moved from Vantage Point. It's actually incredible, the call here that they've made. We've moved from the 162 area all the way down to the 148 level. So that's a huge move by any means. That's 1,200 pips. So anybody trading the pound dollar, catching that move on the way down, this indication here suggests that it's potential for it to move back towards that 155, 160 area. However, again, the Goldman issues are going to likely, plus we've got some other fundamental things happening in Great Britain now with their elections and everything else. So it's a little bit flat, but we're going to be, the key thing is here, we want to keep an eye, identify the pivot support, and keep an eye on this 152.94 area. I think that the pound dollar has room to extend slightly higher. Even if the euro moves lower, the pound is likely to hold its value better than some of the other commodity currencies, and particularly better than the euro. So that is the Forex market outlook for the week of April the 19th, 2010. And again, my name is Greg Furman, market analyst here at TraderPlanet.com.